Hi you guys, it's Rachel from Urban Empath. We're on day 19 of our soul coaching journey with Denise Lynn, and our affirmation for the day is I live in the present moment with courage and love. And today was an unusual and strange day, and I didn't know what to make of it at first. If you were committed to change at level 1, that was about making a ceremonial fire and burning either something that represents your identity or an old identity, or you could make a drawing of your body and burn that. And then there was an affirmation to say, as you focus on the flame and watch the item or the image burn, you say, although I have a body / identity, it is not who I am. In my essence, I am divine light. So we did that. If you were doing level 2, going for it, it was the rocking chair test where you answered a series of questions about if you were ready to die. And at level 3, going for it, it was practicing dying. And so at first I was really put off by that. I mean, I feel like I'm fairly, I've made peace with that a while ago. I've made peace with death a while ago. I'm not necessarily afraid of dying or anything like that. I can't say that everyone would feel that way. I feel like I've had some dark times where, you know, it was on my mind a lot. And but I've never like faced death to, it was never like, I was never like near death or anything like that in my life. So so let's talk about this. This is triggering, I'm sure, to a lot of people. For the committed to change, the making a ceremonial fire and burning the image. I drew an image of myself. It wasn't so bad. I'm not a great artist, but I did a fairly good job of representing myself. And then I actually wrote the affirmation on the image so that I could repeat it as it burned. And it was actually kind of satisfying to have that burn. I didn't feel anything too deeply around the process of it. But again, I don't feel all that attached to my body. I'm actually learning the opposite. I'm learning to ground in, so possibly that's why for me. But it was definitely an interesting experience, so I recommend you trying it, and do it safely. Don't, you know, warning, caution, don't set your house ablaze. And the connection that, in essence, I am divine light. I think that's really beautiful and empowering. I'm not sure why I didn't feel that. I don't feel so connected to that. Again, I think it's because I'm not grounded, all that grounded in my body usually. And then for the going for it, level 2, the rocking chair test. Denise Lynn talked about having Cherokee blood on her mother's side, and there's that Native American saying, "Today's a good day to die," and it kind of means the way she described it. It means that you've made peace with death, and that you feel satisfied with your life. You know, things like that. You've made peace with who you are. You know, there's no lingering, I'm not enough, or any of those things. So the exercise, however, confused me because like right now I would say, no, I'm not ready to die. But the exercise was to imagine yourself kind of on your deathbed at the end of your days and saying these things. And part of me was like, well, do I imagine that I fulfilled the things that I had wanted to accomplish? Or is it like, my deathbed is tomorrow and right now? So I was a little confused by that. Like, If I look into the future and say I lived a full life and I did the best I could, then yes, I could make peace with dying. I don't have a problem with death. It's not a triggering thing for me. Because as I said, I made peace with it. Now, as far as like a painful, jarring, I'm not up for that. Like, thank you, God. Like, no, knock on wood. No. But like the idea of death, it's not triggering for me. It's not charged. There's no charge around that. But if you ask me right now, am I ready to die? No, I have a lot more to do. I have a lot more to do in my life. And I also feel like I feel too young to think about dying. I mean, I'm a late bloomer, and I feel like there's a lot of things I haven't achieved that I'd like to achieve. I don't feel like I'm done learning, and these are all things she said. But if it was like I'm an old lady on my deathbed and, you know, I did the best I could, then sure, yeah, I'd be at peace with that. And then the second question, do you feel complete and at peace with the life you have lived? My imaginary life? Yes. Imagining I had all these experiences and that I gave things my best effort, then yes. And I wrote, yes, I feel that I always did my best with what I was given at the time. So yeah, I definitely feel that way. And then number 3 was, if not, what would you have liked to have done differently? And I said, and while I feel like I did the best that I could at the time, always, I definitely think that going back and having a second chance, I would definitely be more present for my life. But you know, given that I didn't have the information, I wasn't exposed to the answers and things I was seeking about why I was the way I was. Like, I can't really fault myself for not being present in my body. I actually had no idea how to do it. So, and I'm still learning. So, but had I to do it over again, I would have been more present, and I would not have wasted so much energy resisting everything and being so cautious. And yeah, I've wasted a lot of energy in resisting reality and not being present. And because I wasn't present, I missed a lot of my life, and I don't have solid memory of it. And then number 4, the question, what would you have done less of, and what would you have done more of? I wouldn't have wasted so much time and energy to prove my worth to people that didn't matter all that much in my life. I think I did a lot of that when I was younger, and definitely as a performer in school. I just, those years where you're trying to prove that you're a singer, you're trying to prove you're an actress, you're trying to prove you're an artist, prove that you're funny. You're not, if that's what you're doing, right? That's not artistry. So, and I think I still have my moments where I'm still proving it to myself, but if you're working so hard to prove that, you know, you have a good voice, then you're not a singer at that point. So, I mean, that's not artistic expression. That's something else. So I wouldn't have cared so much about what other people thought. I would have just taken chances, kind of owned the talent that I did have as far as that goes. I mean, I have a lot of regrets as far as that. I may have changed voice teachers that first semester when they asked if I wanted to, because it was an opera teacher and I was trying to learn how to sing musical theater, and I was already like in opera and classical style, so learning musical theater was a whole other thing, and they gave me an opera teacher. So and then expecting me to belt. And it just wasn't happening. So I probably would have not worried about hurting that teacher's feelings and just gone with someone who could really teach me how to belt. Let's see. I would have taken more action and did less overanalyzing. All right, I'm an overthinker, I'm an overanalyzer, I'm cautious, and you know, I constantly learn. And this chapter is about action, taking action, and doing less of the overthinking, overanalyzing. I just love the nuts and bolts of behavior and why we do what we do, what motivates us, and like Tony Robbins' work, I'm obsessed. Anything along those lines about figuring out like what makes us tick behaviorally, what we value. I love that stuff. So yeah, I'm definitely an overanalyzer. I would have taken more action, definitely, instead of there were times where I let fear, as I was learning boundaries, as I was learning, and I still am learning empowerment, all those things, I had a tendency to be very cautious instead of just jumping in and thinking the fear was an intuitive hit, thinking, oh, this is trying to prevent me from putting myself out there and being in danger and getting hurt. I'm going to believe this. And I think oftentimes it just was all fear. It wasn't really like my intuition, but at the time I didn't know how to separate the two. It's still confusing. It's still kind of muddy. I wouldn't have cared so much and invested so much of myself at jobs that didn't value me and weren't that serious. I think I take my work, no matter what I'm doing, very, very seriously. I take myself too seriously at work sometimes, and I put too much pressure on myself to do a good job, especially when, like, and that's problematic, especially when I'm not being invested in. It's not wise to do that. I mean, I think there is advice to like show up and, you know, dress for the job you want and give more than you're being paid for so they can see your value. But how many times do they have to prove that you're going to be overlooked before, you know, you start taking care of yourself? So that's me. I don't want to be a martyr. I would have used that energy instead of putting so much and then ending up resenting my workplace. I would have reserved it and just kind of not cared so much. I don't know how I would have done it, because I still have that tendency. I just would have been like less hard on myself, less critical of myself, and therefore less resentful, maybe more happy, and also have more energy to put into things that I value, things that I could look back and say, wow, I did that, you know, investing something great for myself. But, you know, that's also when you work for an employer, it's a representation of your relationship to your mother. And since I had enmeshment with my mother, anytime I work, and I'm still healing it, still working on it, anytime that's the case, you tend to get enmeshed at work and identify with your work. Whenever you're an entrepreneur, it's more about relationship to father, because your father teaches you how to do in the world. This is family constellation theory, and it's very true for me. So wonder if anyone resonates with that. I would have held men to a higher standard of behavior instead of being so loyal and forgiving to people who didn't earn that. Navigating relationships was something that was very confusing to me, interesting, tricky, and I've learned a lot. I've grown so much, and I didn't quite get it for a long time, and I thought, and so I would overinvest there too. I would just overinvest in things that, giving too much of myself and abandoning myself and losing myself. And it's in part going back to the wounding and the triggering I had with, well, with both parents. So, as I discussed in previous videos, the wounding I had with both of my parents definitely contributed to that. And as I heal that, I experience that less and less. It really does start with your parents. You start dating your parents just to heal that relationship. You know what I mean? You attract people that have similar qualities, that remind you, sometimes even look similar. So take a look at that. Let's see. I would have spent more quality time with the people I care about. That's always true because I just feel more comfortable alone. I just feel, I underestimate how good it feels to be with people, that are like in my soul tribe, I vibe with. I underestimate the value of that because, you know, I had to be with, like, in customer service, you have to be around people who are, you know, demanding things all the time. And sometimes that would just be so draining to me. And because I am a hermit, we know this in human design. So I would have socialized more. I would have, not lied to I would have been clearer with myself that yes, I need alone time, but I don't need to isolate forever. You know, I don't need to hold myself away in a cave. Like I can have balance. So I would have learned that balance. And I would have shown more gratitude for sure. I was in a coaching class and, there's this meditation you can do where you look into the future and you see your future self, and you can ask any kinds of questions. And one of the main questions was, what do you value the most now in your life? And this can go forward 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, however far in the future you want to look. And I just valued the relationships I had forged and nurtured. And I really think that's the most important thing in life. It's the connections and the love that we share. I think really is the most important thing. And even for a hermit, this is a hermit saying that, okay? So it is, it's very important. Just talking to my best friend last night, just feeling that connection, it just rejuvenates you, it revives you, it reminds you why you're alive. And talking to my friends back from New York, and it's so important. So I really definitely think I would have done that. And you know, saying this like I'm on my deathbed or something, but no, I still have time to do that. And I would have shown more gratitude. So yeah, even when it's challenging, that's when you build the muscle. So I definitely have to be more mindful of that. Even when I'm in pain, even when I'm hurting, even when I'm feeling down, low, whatever it is, building muscle. That reminds me, I went to the gym today, even though I was feeling terrible. So, that was good. I'm proud of myself, even though it was like I was weak. So it was like a low quality workout, but I did it. And then since we come to the value of relationships, she then, upped the ante a little bit and said, what's an action that you can take to make sure you're satisfied at the end of your days? And for me, it's to spend more time with family and friends. And tomorrow, you know, because those relationships are so valuable, tomorrow I am going out to dinner with family. So that'll be nice. I'm going to connect with some of my family, and also just reach out to my family that's here that I haven't really talked to yet and gotten to see yet. I need to do that. I get so focused in, on doing like this work and, you know, my other work and then my hermit time that I forget to make social time. And that's so important because that's what brings you joy. You know, that's how you experience love. So yeah, I definitely need to do that. And then if you're playing full out, this is the weird one that you might have had some. So playing full out, you were practicing dying. So you visualized all kinds of scenarios of how you could possibly die. And the purpose was to take away your fear of death. And it was an interesting experience. I visualized all kinds of different scenarios. She said make it can be kind of fun. It's to take the charge off. It's just to face the fear, you know, shine a light there if it's something you don't really want to look at. And you might find it is kind of fun. It was kind of interesting to do that, and to see all kinds of dramatic deaths, falling off a cliff, drowning, and then simple ones of dying, resting in your bed, you know, heart attack, passing away from cancer, visualizing all these things, I guess, just to face death. And then with each one, seeing yourself slip off to a beautiful place where you're surrounded by loved ones that have passed and things like that. So, interesting. No one's ever challenged me to do that before. It was kind of fun. It was interesting. I don't know that I'll do it again, but but it was, you know, it was an interesting experience. And maybe it did take a little bit of a charge off, looking at things that maybe I feared. So, you know, try it. See if you like it. See if it does something for you. Anyway, that's it for today. So comment below what your experience was for today. How did you feel about everything? Were you triggered? Was it challenging? Did you enjoy it? Did you experience a shift? Subscribe, like this video so I know you're watching. And if you click the bell icon, you'll get notifications when I upload a new video. And I'm also taking this journey on Facebook and Instagram. I'll link those below in case you want to check that out. And I hope you have a great night. I'm going to see you tomorrow. Good night.